Courage is Timelessly Important by Henry Gomez. Children have always been encapsulated by acts of heroism and strength. These concepts are introduced to them through books, comics, and movies. Some of these children may have even thought everyone would think they're cooler if they had superpowers. These ideas about becoming superheroes and the courage it takes to step into a changer's path shows how important courage has been in our world. I argue that overcoming fear is just as important today as it always has been. This is exemplified through how being fearless increases social status, is taught to the youth, and keeps you focused on the task at hand. Being fearless increases social status and your public image. In relationships between authentic leadership, moral courage, and ethical and pro-social behaviors, Sean T. Hanna from the School of Business at Wake Forest University states, the influence that authentic leaders have on the normative context followers operate in that can indirectly promote their moral courage and ethical outcomes. This shows that a courageous leader increases the moral courage of their followers. This will increase the leader's social status, as people will think more highly of them due to them being more open to trying new things. Furthermore, in the study Exploring the Structure of Fearlessness Using Self-Report Measures by Kayla Van Til, who has a PhD in clinical psychology from Purdue University, sociability was shown to increase along with courage. This shows how the more courage you have, the more sociable you become. These points in unison support the idea that being more courageous increases your social status and how positively others perceive you. This helps prove how being courageous is still important to this day. Being courageous is taught to the youth through the media they consume. For example, in Norska Folkeeventyr, a collection of traditional Norwegian folk stories, there's a story about an ash lad discovering a magical castle, killing many trolls, achieving greatness, and becoming popular. This story is from well over 100 years ago, but parents were still teaching their children about courage and how important it is. An example from today's world is Star Wars. In Star Wars, while Darth Vader is trying to get information from Princess Leia, he notes, her resistance to the Mind Probe is considerable. It will be some time before we can extract any information from her. Princess Leia is displaying courage in this scene, as she is facing physical danger, and yet she stands up for what she believes is right. This is another example of courage in a piece of media intended for children. In Courage, Its Nature and Development, Associate Professor of Educational Psychology at Purdue University, Nelson H. Good, states, courage has been presented as a necessary force for enhancing and maintaining growth. It is courage that bridges the gap between the opposite poles of safety and new growth. This quote proves that courage is important for the development and the growth of children. When these children grow up into adults, their experiences with courage and their fearlessness from their youth will help them overcome difficult situations in the workplace, physical activities, and in nature, as they will not be afraid to fail. The fact that being courageous has been taught to the youth throughout time shows how important being courageous is today. Being fearless keeps you focused on the task at hand. This is shown in Simone Biles and The Most Human Meaning of Courage, when Marcus Thompson II states, if the action is not vulnerable, it is not courageous. This quote shows how being vulnerable is being courageous. This makes sense because if you're focused on only one thing, you're unable to focus on external forces. This makes you vulnerable as you are unable to detect threats. This idea is also explored in Fear Thou Not, Activity of Frontal and Temporal Circuits in Moments of Real-Life Courage by Uri Nilly from the Weizmann Institute of Science. Uri Nilly found that courage is key in deciding what to do in the presence of a threat. The choice to not face the obstacle is driven by a lack of courage. This option would also mean that you are not completing the task you originally set out to do. Having courage will allow you to choose the harder path and complete the task. These studies show how having courage and overcoming fear is vital for completing tasks that you set out to do. Ultimately, overcoming fear is important and always has been. But today's world faces the problem that courage isn't being taught to children as much as it used to be. The decline of courage being taught to children is leading to people being more afraid to stand up for what is right, talk in front of others, or do tasks that require courage. Writers need to be encouraged to write about how important courage is. There are many stories about the importance of overcoming adversity and confidence, such as The Little Engine That Could, listening to those in charge, such as 5 monkeys jumping on the bed, and thinking logically, such as in Stuck. There are not many modern-day stories about having courage and being fearless. In a quote from Anna Balmer, she reveals that training moral courage is more effective if teachers address the automatic process of courage within students. This point exemplifies just how important courage is and how important it is that we perpetrate this quality through teaching it to our children. Thank you.